Yeah.
I don't know later, but.
You can't see it. Okay.
Live. I would like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order. If you would all please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and it's available to watch on YouTube. As an additional reminder for those folks who just joined us, the camera is right there in the center of the room. It does pick up on noise, so anyone who is near the camera, just definitely think about the chatter because it will be on live on YouTube. It will hear your conversation. So what I was going to do is to my school committee members, we have a lot of folks here to hear from us and to share with us. And so I wanted to propose changing around the agenda because the agenda is something that was voted on by school committee. In order to change anything, change the order how things are addressed on the agenda, we just have to agree to it. And so what I was going to propose is that we move some things around. I was going to propose that we move up the budget update so that we can go through FY26 and FY27 budget updates first. I was going to propose that we put public input in between the FY27 budget update and the FY27 budget vote. And the reason that I am proposing this is because I have heard feedback on the last several times that we've had a lot of folks here for public comment, that they really wish that their public comment could have been heard in between school committee having a conversation about the budget and voting on the budget. And so once we would complete those pieces of business, then we would go back through the agenda from the start, proceeding with regular business. Does anyone have any reservations about making those changes, or are we good to move forward with this? Excellent. All right. And then before we get started, I will also let folks know that if you do intend to participate in public comment, there is a sign-up sheet down here at the front to let everyone know. I posted this online, but not sure who saw it. The way that public comment is structured is that each person will have 3 minutes. Technically, the length of public comment is restricted to, I can't remember if it's 12 or 15 minutes, but I am going to suspend that total limit. However, out of respect, to make sure that everyone has a chance to be heard, I am going to limit the individual folks to 3 minutes each, okay? All right, so let's proceed. So we're starting with FY26 budget update. So Anne Marie, any updates about FY26?
Just winding down the year, making sure all the bills are in and those are the dates that we can be ready to start closing out.
Okay. Beautiful. So FY27 budget update. So I know that we have a presentation put together so that we can offer some context and some detail around discussions for this evening.
Madam Chair, pick this up on the card. So what we decided to do is we've received quite a bit of feedback. And what we tried to do is really address some of the points that really were addressed the most, quite frankly. And we know that through the questioning or just through the general discussion, a lot of the other items will come forward. So in any event, some of the questions that we've been asked, is what factors are associated with increased costs to the FY27 NRSD budget. We've talked a lot about that in general over the 3 or 4 or 5 budget meetings that we've had. But if you remember, or if you don't, we had probably I cannot think of a time that the fixed costs were this high for a particular district of this size. So we've talked about this at length. It's $1.5 million in general with hard costs, but sped out of district tuition was a pretty big increase. Our insurance rates, like everyone, I think, have gone up quite a bit. That was a major driver in this. Retirement, again, we talked about the health insurance, charter, school choice tuition out and charter school tuition out were slight increases, but they didn't factor too much into the total amount. But obviously, sped transportation, out of district transportation, and our employee health insurance were some of the major drivers. So we started, like a lot of places, $1.5 million in, not in the hole, but certainly in the red when it comes to those drivers. So the other question that we try to answer here today is, how does the district prepare for determined cuts when there's a large gap between what is needed and what can be funded? And that's a great question. It's certainly not easy, not always an exact science, but in order to really start that conversation, you have to look to who does what, for lack of a better word. So, when we start talking about the budget roles, because we received a lot of questions in terms of or just folks coming out and asking, why did the school committee do this? Or why did you do that? Or how do you do that? It's important to understand that the school committee has the governance over the district budget, and the school district administration, et cetera, takes care of operations. I know that it seems almost like the same, and in a good relationship it is when we start talking about this, because we do a lot of collaboration, because it is a collaborative effort. But when we start looking at what the school committee looks, they set the visions, priorities, and budgets of what are we going to do, and what is our goal at the end of the 5 year, the 2 year, whatever it is. They set the goals where the district is moving. It ensures alignment with policy, equity goals, legal requirements, etc. That is a major factor into what the school committee's purview is. It approves the final budget and monitors overall fiscal health. I think that's important. So when you see, this school committee certify the budget, they are in fact approved. So they are looking at the drafts, and when they finally vote, or when they do vote, they are approving it. A lot of work goes in before that, which we'll talk a bit. Monthly finance subcommittee meetings happen, monthly chair meetings with member towns. Those are some of the things that we do in order to, increase our communication about the budget, make sure we're keeping an eye on things. Lots can change. We had a terrible winter, for example, ice, snow removal, we start looking, folks are getting sick. We've got sublines going into the road. So we talk a lot about what's going on, right in the moment. And of course, we always try to look to the future. So what do we do? What is the administration, the operation side? Well, we developed the detailed budget proposal. I think that is probably one of the areas that folks get confused on the most, is that in the end, Anne Marie and I we take all this information from the administrative team. Of course, we are guided by the goals and what the school committee sets forth in terms of where we want to be in X amount of years, etc. And we take that and we develop a detailed budget proposal. That's our job. That's what we do. We allocate resources across the schools and staffing, as it says. We implement the approved budget day to day. We monitor spending, adjust operations, report programs, weekly administrative meetings, etc. And in essence, we really do create the budget, right? So we create it with a lot of help, and a lot of time goes into actually doing that. I know that certainly we received, I don't know if it's criticism, feedback, whatever you want to call it, is that why haven't folks gone line by line? We have gone line by line. That's what we do. The collective, we do that. And then we, of course, present the budget as is. So the question would ultimately be, well, then who really decides what the budget is? Again, it's a relationship. We can create a budget, and we do, and there might be a disagreement. Of course, there'd be discussion or whatever the case may be. The school committee has to vote the budget in order for it to happen. We create the budget. And once the budget is voted, then we maintain it. I say that, and I think some people go, well, yeah, that's obvious. I don't think it's obvious to many, because it's different, either in municipalities or maybe other, I don't know, other district setups, but that in general is how this works. So I want to make sure everyone knows where the buck stops. So when we start talking about cuts, and we will, who did that? Was it just Anne Marie and I? No. It was a collection of a lot of conversations, hours and hours of conversations over what could happen, what should happen, what can be reduced, what can't be reduced. And that all comes into the decision-making process. I do. So the ongoing communications and the data sharing is obvious. We do that every month here. And clear roles, committee, what and why, the district is how, and we actually execute the budget. That's what we do. Shared accountability for student outcomes and fiscal responsibility. We all share it. We hold each other accountable for that. Someone asked me the other day, again, it's all kind of melding together, is that, well, who's qualified to do that? Not for nothing, we're pretty good. Anne Marie and I have been around a long time. We both, are licensed business administrators. And we have been, again, we absolutely are the ones who, in the end, are responsible for the budget in terms of the creation that we then deliver for vote for the school committee. The buck ends here, good, bad, or indifferent. And when things go wrong, there's only really, everybody seems to kind of fade away, and it's just Anne Marie and I, because in the end, we're the one who creates the budget. And off we go. I want to make sure I say that because I think there was some type of illusion that the budget was not being properly created or vetted because it didn't look like how others had seen the budget created. We have done the same thing, I can absolutely say to you, for the last 10 budgets. And beyond that, I can't speak for Narragansett, but certainly in my previous role in another district of business, which that's how the budget is created. So with that said, and I'm sure that there might be questions about it, but I'd be happy to answer those. At any one time, we're dealing with 3 budgets, depending on the month. We're dealing with last year's budget, right? Because we're closing it out, and we're getting it certified with the Department of Ed. So that would be FY25 in this example. FY26 is in motion, so we're constantly moving that forward. As we speak, and then we're looking to the future FY27 budget development. I put a few of the things that we do up here in terms of, FY27 and FY25, but, those are the things that are happening honestly on a daily basis. Now, once we finish the end of year report, and by we, I have to tell you folks, that's Anne Marie. She does the end of year report with Desi. I'd like to take credit for it. I will not. But once that closes, then we're not beholden to FY25 any longer unless there seems to be an issue and the Department of Ed contacts us, and they have contact, so we're clear. And then we go about the business of the current and future budget. One question said, well, somebody usually always, when things don't go exactly right, call for a forensic audit. We'd love one. Anne Marie, if you ask Anne Marie and I, please, we would love a forensic audit. One, we think they're not going to find anything wrong, because again, we're pretty good. And 2, we get audited every single year. I don't know if towns or cities get audited every year. We do. We're not going to pay for that though. Let me just be honest with you. When we spoke with our auditors, we asked, how much does a forensic audit cost? And it costs?
I want to say, well, our regular one is close to $30,000, so it's like close to 50.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just was asking why I was walking that.
Right. And generally, a forensic audit needs what they call a string. So what happened somewhere? And so forensically, they need to go back in time to find exactly, keep pulling the string, right, on the sweater. And that is the example that they use. And so forensically, they're pulling, receipts. They're looking at credit card statements. They're looking at gas cards. They're digging into something to try to, in most cases, to find some type of malfeasance. We have never been identified for needing one. We are audited every year. I just say that because that kind of came out a lot, I think in the beginning, because, when budgets don't go well, I think it's a natural reaction to say that it's been mismanaged. It is not being mismanaged, period. And if you don't have to believe, say, me or us, you can believe the auditors, who I think we have the last 7 audits up on the website in our finance page, if you'd like some light reading. So beyond all that, you want to talk about how we actually reduce the budget. This is hard. Let me just say right off the bat, where do we start? We start with how much do I have to cut? The number matters. Okay. So if you're talking about $30,000 versus 2.6 million, those decisions are different. Education, schools, districts are staff intensive. We have more people than anything else. They have yet to figure out AI to do what we do. Will they? No. But that's my personal opinion, or they won't do it as well. But the fact of the matter is that's why most budgets are 80, 82, 83% salary. We are staff intensive. We have more human beings than generally anything else. Okay? So when you're looking at cutting X or Y, whatever the number might be, you have all of these teachers, and we don't joke, but sometimes they have little dollar signs all over their heads, right? And we're like, well, you just can't cut 2.6. We don't have $2.6 million in general of teachers that you can possibly cut, as an example. So we have to look at stuff. We have to look at big things. Where can we reduce? Where do we do this? Where do we do that? So the priorities are always student safety. If you notice, you did not see any cuts to the SRO line, for example. You did not see any cuts to school adjustment counselors, school psychics, special education, guidance. You didn't see that. For us, that's our safety team, right? Those are our safety teams. Legal mandates. Well, special education comes up to the front. We have to look at what legal mandates we have. You just can't cut across the board in education because there are federal and legal ramifications to doing that. There are certain, special education teachers can only have X amount of kids, and IEP. It's a whole. I'm just using that as one example. Compliance, physicians needing special education, core academics programs, and of course, district priorities all come into play because we still have to hit our priorities. Things just don't go well. I guess we're just going to have a bad year. That's not going to work, especially, if it's going to affect your children. Now, look, if you cut so many people out of the operation, it's going to affect somehow, but we have to kind of look at, student facing, staff and who are then become the priority. We have to analyze spending. We review by function code. I think that sometimes gets confusing. I had a conversation today about that exactly. We break it down by function code. When you see, the 1,000 line, 2,000 line, 3,000 line, 4,000, you get it. It's in the PowerPoint online. That's the chart of accounts that the Department of Ed sets up for spending. Okay, so yeah, it might say administration, which is number one. It's just not like administration. It has legal in it. And there's a lot to these layers, and I think we need to do a better job explaining what each of those layers are. But we have to review by function code because that is how we do our business. We have to distinguish fixed costs versus flexible costs, right? So we talked about the fixed costs. I just can't cut insurance. There's a little law that says you have to at least provide health insurance. And so it's not like we can just cut it, because that would be great, because that would be a big savings. We'd be all very happy. Not really, not if you need health insurance, but you understand what I'm trying to say. We have to analyze student needs. That's the hardest thing that we do. because we're gonna talk about the elementary in a minute, and people aren't happy about that, Lord, I know. Trust me when I tell you, but when we start looking at some of these decisions, it becomes, almost educational triage. And we have to see whose needs are going to be affected, how, where, and why, and who can handle that. That's hard. That's hard. And we'll get to that. But evaluate programs or items' effectiveness and utilization. We're always looking at programs. Which, I think that many people were more upset, depending, about the programs that were cut, because they generally represent services to a larger group of kids, right? MEP, athletics, Thrive, right? Those are programs that we set up here because we didn't set up athletics. But those are programs like that we set up to absolutely assist students who they need experiences, they need different things. Those are the kind of things that we have to look at when the number gets so big. When we start developing or reduction scenarios, again, it almost goes with priorities, but you could develop multiple scenarios outlining. This gets a little crazy because you're going to create so many scenarios that it becomes so confusing, and it just kind of almost warps into it. So we really did not do a lot of scenario work this time. There wasn't a lot of time to do scenario work because look, the town of Templeton, and I sat through 3 of those meetings. I don't know how many hours. It may have been more than 20. It has to be more than 20. They went line by line. That was a really kind of a fantastic thing to watch. It was mind numbing, but it was kind of a fantastic way to do those type of things. But when we do something like that, that is a good way to get to the bottom line. But we have already done those type of that work ahead of time, and we don't have as many line items. We don't have as many departments, to be quite frank. Collective bargaining agreements are huge, right? We know that they require if you're going to open up a bargaining agreement, a contract for that matter, it takes 2 to enter into that conversation. I need to ask permission or say, hey, would you like to do that? And would you like to open the contract to discuss that? Has Casavan done that? Yes. Have I received a response? No, because I only sent the letter on Monday. We talked about the scenarios. Again, I was going off on that is we didn't learn about about being funded, level funded until Thursday night. No shade. It just when that information came up. And so then we quickly worked that next Friday. Of course, Friday we had to get the scenarios out, talk to people because they're going to be affected potentially or otherwise. And then the letter went out to the unions, and that's how it's going. We try to engage as many variety of stakeholders as obviously I write a lot of letters, or maybe not enough, depending on who you are. I don't know, but we try to put out letters and information out as much as possible. All the building principals do a fantastic job with that, with their school-based, push out emails, etc. Unions, principals, directors, chair meetings. All these people are part of the conversation. And we have a lot of administrative meetings, and we generally talk about budget. Well, we do almost every single time. So if you're, if you want a quick scenario, is that we're looking at kids first, but then I have to look at the number to see how big the cut has to be. And then we have to look at where there is some opportunity, tough word to use in this situation, where cuts can be made without absolutely, say, shutting down a grade or some type of opportunity, so to speak. So, board yet? No? All right. These are the 2 scenarios that we put out. One is a 2.5 increase over last year. The other is level funded. Level funded, you defined it, but obviously you're receiving the same amount of money, say next year as you do this year. In a way, and I'm going to take just a moment to really be disappointed. Well, I'm generally always disappointed in the state, but I will say that some of our reps, our area reps did not do us a service, and I am going to bring it up to them when I see them. Representative Zlotnick, who sat before the select board and advisory committee at least twice, waxed philosophical and poetic, and then voted against to increase our Rule 8. Representative Wills, who I know is the Phillipston picks up Phillipson and her, she also voted against that. There might be a really good answer for that. There might be. I don't know. They haven't had a chance, but they represent quite a few rural districts. And that is money that we can use for one-time, say, fixes that we don't have to put onto the towns necessarily, right? Right? We did a lot of drainage work with the money that we go over and over again. I'm very disappointed in that. And I think that when we talked about to them, to Senator Durant and Representative Zlotnick, we talked about Chapter 70, that being broken. How they fund schools is absolutely broken. This system is built to pit schools and towns against each other, because the increases that we are receiving across the board, everybody, by the way, and what some of the mandates that we have to do absolutely sets up a scenario where you have to be, it becomes almost an adversarial relationship. I personally don't think I liked any of their answers. When they gave their answers, it sounded very political to me. But basically what they told us is, we don't generally out in this area have enough bandwidth, nor do we have enough representation to move the needle. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Okay, maybe others heard differently. I don't know. That's a shame, because I think our kids count as much as someone who's in 495. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that they don't care about our kids. They just don't have the numbers to move the needle. So until the beautiful people start facing financial issues that affect them, we probably won't see a change. If you ask me, that is my personal opinion, and that's a shame, because that means west to east, districts are going to slowly die until someone who actually has a representation of the voice is going to make that difference. That is absolutely ridiculous. And we need to absolutely rail against that, because it's happening. It's happening every day. So what you have before you are, I know people have seen this. Lord knows, it is on our website. It's, well, you have it. It's outside. It lists cuts. So I just want to go over just a little bit about the cuts, about why. 2.6 and 2.3, I have to tell you folks, it might just be $1 billion, right? They're almost exactly the same. We've not got this much money. It absolutely is insanity to try to find a way around to make this number, right? To get to this number without literally affecting everything. And so of course, in almost in one voice, people were like, why Athletics Thrive MVP almost all at the same time? Because those programs cost us a lot of money. And if I cut them, please do not take this any other way, I'm affecting less than if I were to say, I'm looking at first grade, I close the first grade. That's not going to happen. Our job is education, but we had to cut almost 2 teachers in the first grade because their numbers happen to be a little lower than the places, at least in this scenario. So athletics costs us roughly close to $500,000 overall. It comes from many, many different sources, right? Yeah. Let's face it. Middle school principal and vice principal of many, many years. What I know is that kids come to school not because if they want to, because they come to school because they are getting something here that they enjoy. So in other words, sports, extracurriculars, whatever it may be or need. So athletics became, when I say easy, it became the obvious choice. 447,000, give or take. Okay. What's going to happen if we don't have athletics? By the way, I'm not grandstanding. It's absolute. I was in a district that this actually happened where it got close. You're going to see a mass exodus in school choice.
We're already getting phone calls.
We're already getting phone calls. So they mass exodus out to school choice and say, well, Chris, that's not so bad. You told me you got $15,000 per kid, and it only costs $5,500, to pay that out. Right? That's not bad. You got to keep roughly 10 grand. 40, 50 kids add up, folks. It's in a district this size, and that is a payout. That is not like you can tap into the school choice in, right? It's different. It's different roads. If you do that, if that happens, that is going to really negatively affect the district. Many, many people that I talked to said, I think you're doing that as bait. I'm going to tell you that if I wanted to use athletics as bait, I would have done it 6 years ago. No one should use, and yes, I understand that there may or may not have been a scenario in this district many years ago where someone may have dangled this and not really meant it, and it created some type of, I don't know, I was not here. So I'm glad to say that not. If that in fact happened, then that's dirty pool. I've never mentioned athletics. I've never even whispered athletics ever. But when I have to cut $2.6 million, it's almost a no-brainer if you understand what I'm saying about being a no-brainer. I'm gonna take some water because MVP becomes very confusing. Why would we cut MVP when the confusion was that there was a grant that covered MVP? That's true for the teacher. For the teacher, it's a one-year grant. Yes, we haven't received the grant. We're hopeful to get the grant, but we're confident, I guess, that we would receive it. The problem is, and I'm going to let explain the money part of it, is that we are held harmless this year. What is held harmless? Held harmless is when the state pays you, in essence, they level fund you from the year before, but you have less kids than the year before. So let's say we had 2,000 kids last year. And this year, let's say we have, 1,900 kids, right? We dropped 100 kids. Let's just pretend that. They are not going to give me a dime more, although they end up giving us a little bit, but they do not fund us like they did when our kids were going up, because our system is built on kids in seats, right? Kids in district. Okay. So what they say is that we're not going to reduce your money because that wouldn't be fair, because they, I guess, rightfully should take 1,800 and, do the math. They don't do that. They'll give you the same amount of money through Chapter 70 as the year before, but they're not going to make any increases. Well, Chapter 74 is the fund that funds vocational services. When you are held harmless, you do not, although it's listed there, you do not receive them. It's baked into the total number. So next thing you know, you don't have the monies that would normally have sitting outside of what you would think is Chapter 70. Okay, just in general. It gets a little confusing. So I'm going to let Anne Marie kind of explain how the monies work in agreements, or just in general about 18 kids and.
So the grant that you've heard us talk about several times, you've seen it, you've heard about it. It covers the teacher, but it's an implementation grant. So when you add a new program, like plumbing, which is planned for next year, we qualify to apply for the grant. So that grant will cover the teacher for next year. But Monty Tech actually sends us an invoice for the cost of educating the kids we send to those programs for the vocational piece. Because we do not actually receive any extra funds from Chapter 70 for the vocational money, that's money taking out of our regular budget that would normally go to something else. So we had anticipated that there's going to be 18 kids in the plumbing, carpentry, and electrical programs for next year. When I called Monty Tech to find out what is this year's vocational piece, we keep the academic because we are teaching those kids academically here. She gave me the number and it's like $5,600 a kid. So I had budgeted for 100, but they bill us for last year's kids. So I will only receive a bill this year in FY27 for the 12 kids that were in the program last year. But if we had 18 kids, I can expect in FY28, I'm going to get a bill for well over $100,000 for those kids. So anywhere where you decide to eliminate the program, I am still paying for the kids that were in the program last year.
I know it's confusing because you would think if you just stop something, be like, oh, I don't have to pay. But when you're paying, again, arrears, as we talked about, there's still an expense, which we're still going to have to pay. But also, and we have to guard against the possibility that if it were to, go sideways in FY 28, somehow linked into it, we'd have to owe more money and not do, you see what I'm saying? So we have to be careful about how far we bring this along. So, so what did we do? Well, we took everyone's feedback. Now, I don't mean to laugh, but you got to know, folks, we received a lot of feedback. And a lot of it was very constructive. Some of it was mean, okay, but it's all right. Okay, we get it, because people are passionate and talking about the most important thing in people's lives with their kids. We love that about it. So what we tried to do, because things had changed, once we looked at what a level service budget is, okay, and I have to say, primarily due to administrators resigning and being gainfully employed in other districts, it started to help us rethink about what we could do with that, right? Because when we first did that wasn't the case, right? The two administrators had yet to declare that they were, resigning and moving on. We just didn't have.
Something we could.
Yeah, it was nothing, you're right, it was nothing we could do, thank you, yes. So, and some other things. So what we did is we started to look at the priorities and go, okay, what does it look like? Not only with that, but bringing back what folks, and of course, the administrative team weighs into this, what priorities? So, if you, yes.
You break?
I mean,
All right.
yes.
So essentially, for those of you who have been watching the school committee meetings, thank you. For those of you who are getting up to speed, I completely understand. As a parent who used to not be on school committee. But one of the scenarios we've been looking, so there's a budget that we passed, which was essentially what's called a level service budget. What a level service budget means is that we try to maintain as many services as possible, although we did have about $300,000 in cuts. With positions that we just hadn't been able to fill over an elongated period of time, and they were, it would have been financially irresponsible for us to continue funding those positions, okay? So that is the budget that school committee passed. But at the same time, in our collaborative efforts with Templeton, et cetera, we had started to look at what would it look like if we cut $1.3 million from the budget. And that's the scenario that Dr. C is referencing, because at the time that we put that scenario together, Dr. C, of course, was having conversations with his administrators, but, due to employee privacy, could not actually talk about those as a possibility of what cuts. So we had, and at that time, we didn't know. We didn't know whether they were going to stay or whether they were going to choose to go to these new positions. And so we had to act as though those were not a possibility. However, now that those two folks, that we were very sad to lose them both, have decided to move into new positions, that it became necessary for us to relook at that $1.3 million cut scenario, and to see what that would look like now, considering that those two administrators are leaving. And so I hope that was enough of a break. I am going to hand it back so that you can go through that budget scenario and to better understand, what does that budget scenario, how has that budget scenario shifted and changed with those two administrators now?
Yeah, so I need to say right off the bat, thank you for the timeout. That this budget doesn't balance. So in other words, just because two administrators moved on, doesn't mean that everything is saved and we still hit the number of either 2.6 or 2.3. That is, I happen to say that right out loud. What this did, the task was, how does it change things? And what would we bring back through our priorities, right? And what would it cost us? Okay, so when we did this exercise before, we couldn't do much of this, even with the 1.3 that it says here, up here. But with the administrators, as we've just talked about, it gave us more opportunity. So ultimately, if you see a red line through something, it's something that we would again, through this, I'll use the word exercise, it takes it off the cut list. Okay? So what were the priorities? Priorities were elementary school, Thrive, which I didn't do enough talking about. I apologize, Thrive. Remember behavioral pieces that we talked about, athletics. And again, Thrive's in a couple different programs, depending on areas. If you see some names, you see that there's a couple of lines because we split it up differently. And of course, what comes off of, if you don't lay someone off, you don't have to pay the health insurance, the unemployment. Thank you. So what this means, because we were asked a lot. I was asked, again, not a ton, but like, what would it be to bring back these things? Well, this is what it would be. Right? So it would mean that the district's budget would be 1.3 million.
Less than level service.
Less than level service. Level service.
Level service.
Thank you. Yeah, level service.
We're here to help.
Thank you. So that's what it would mean. Again, we kind of went over the rules of who does what. We have crunched the numbers here. We have done that. We've done the line by line. We've done all those things that, people were asking. And so before you is an answer of how these things come back. And I really do acquiesce at this point.
So I will open it up first to the school committee for comments or questions, and then we'll proceed to public input. Yes, Sean?
So I'm looking over the draft of the salaries from 26 to 27. Can you speak, and I'm sure some of it's contractual and some of it's, can you speak to why the percent increases are so high?
Say what was how so high?
The percent increases from 26 to 27.
Okay, thank you, because that would have come up as soon as we post. So remember what we, in general, go back several conversations, several meetings, is that the district follows a rule in terms of so if the teacher's unit, as an example, is going to receive a 4% increase next year, then again, it's not always this way because we have 2 units, right? 2 bargaining units. Okay. But generally everyone doesn't receive anything more than that. But they in general receive that. So in other words, you're not going to see someone receive a 7%, somebody receive a 4. So okay, I want to say that out loud. So you're going to see a lot of 4 points X or Y's or whatever it is. In the contracts, there are things like longevity. Okay. So if you've been here 10 years, I'm gonna make it up, get $500, whatever it is, depending on what you. So you will see that they're not ideally, they're not perfect 4.0s all the way down when this is posted, folks. You don't have it yet because they haven't seen it. There's steps. Teachers have steps. Paraprofessionals have steps. Right? They have master lanes, bachelor lanes, masters plus 15, masters plus 30, masters plus 45. Okay, right? So all of that factors in. So when someone gives a 3% increase, right? That's what they negotiate. That 3% is negotiated on the base, right? 3% across the board. Now, if you're someone of like 5th year masters, you go up to 6. I don't know what the percentage, what that is there, but that would definitely be more than just the 4. I want to say, is that something that's unique to Narragansett? No. I want to say all because I don't have every contract, but contracts have steps. That's what they do. And contracts have longevity. That's what they do. Right?
And as someone who's sat through several negotiations with the NDEA and with the UFCW, what I can additionally add is that we are very actively looking at the recent contracts from surrounding towns And, both to identify, what are new ideas of, ways that we can engage productively and positively with our unions, but also how do we remain competitive in that job market? Because at the end of the day, it's those contracts that decide, are you going, if you have a need for a new teacher X, Y, or Z, are you going to be able to afford how much that teacher costs when you are competing with Gardner, with Barry, with all these surrounding towns. And so, it's a very critical piece of the negotiation process to both look at how do we maintain being competitive along with, how is it that we create these stepped increases to incentivize all of our teachers to go through continuing education and continue to become, even better teachers for our students.
So you might see a line like, say, paraprofessionals. I'm just gonna, TES paraprofessionals. You might see that the, percentage increase is really high. Well, that's because we probably had to hire 2 paraprofessionals, 3 I don't know how many, because some IEP needs. Okay, because, that factors again into those things. So it's a great question. I get that question quite a bit. When especially people are looking at the hard number. And I will say the way we did the draft, just so the school committee understands, is that the percentage increase is based on the level serves. We did not have time to refigure after we made the cuts. So in other words, as you can see, you see the cuts to the right, depending on which one. We did not refigure what the percentage increase or decrease would be. We just did not have the time. It was just, we're moving pretty quick here, okay? But in order for transparency, we left that there because we want folks to see under what it would have been under a level service budget. Okay, so it's the case that
Yeah, no, thank you. That's fine. Some of that I figured, some of that was good to hear.
Questions?
we did receive one question.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a question or comment, but I do not remember the department in which folks were referencing. But there was the conversation was about that over a period of time, and I don't remember what the period of time was, that the department had received a lot of zeros or ones. Okay, and so I just remember this because this was interesting to me just because it kind of added context to some things. And so we went back to FY10 just to see and we were for the teachers. And so since FY10, because this matters when you're in negotiations, but in FY10 they received a 1%, FY11 they received a 2%, FY12 was a 2.5, FY13 we think was a 0.5, FY14 was a 0, FY15 was a 0.5, FY16 was a 1, FY17 was a 1, FY18 was a 0, FY19 a 1, FY20 a 1. They received their first 2% increase in FY21 since FY11. And then in 22, 1, then 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. We clearly, this, I would say this criticism landed squarely on my shoulders in terms of negotiation, which is fine, but everything is good until you need something. So right now we're facing the largest teacher shortage at least in Massachusetts, for X amount of years. After we got out of COVID, I know that everybody was trying to increase salaries, et cetera, because we couldn't hire anybody, if everybody remembers that whole thing. And so that factors into the conversation, obviously. I nor apologize for that, but I have to be competitive. Where does Narragansett sit? Out of the 10 districts that I presented earlier this year, we do this every 2 years, we do a salary survey, we present it. Out of 12 2 years or 3 years ago, we were 9. We were 9th out of 12. We're now, I think, 5 or 6, depending if it was a master's schedule. So we're in the middle now, which makes us more competitive. But we are fighting for teachers. I like my superintendent friends very much, but I literally will run them over for a math. No, I mean it. I will run them over. Mark Pellegrino from Gardner knows I will run him over for math or sped teachers. And we just might actually have to, more than us. The fact is that we have to stay competitive. I have to fill this position. So I say that out loud because I just want to make sure that because it was asked of me, or it was told me. And teachers have not, have been overly, compensated in terms of percentage. And will that change moving forward? I think the financial landscape will be problematic moving forward, in terms of negotiations, et cetera, because you have to keep those, things in sight as well. But I just wanted to make sure I said that again out loud in terms of salaries.
So I'll ask a couple line item questions, both things that I heard on the public as well as things that I know that you needed to talk about. But can you talk a little bit more about copiers? So do we really need all the copiers we have across the buildings? And I'm seeing shock from every teacher out there because, and I have teacher friends, and I know there is always a line at every copier. And everyone is trying to get to their classes on time, so do we need every copier?
Yes, and probably plus some. We have 15 across the district. 2 of those are colored, and one of the colored is in the central office where this building here comes down and uses it. And the other one is in the office at the elementary school.
So of the 15, 2 are colored.
Yeah.
Elementary school lights.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm gonna chase this down. I did not have time to do this before the meeting, and I'm planning to. We have heard that the lights are on, quote, all night at TES. So the nice gentleman I spoke with today, whose wife is in this audience, I said, how late is that? Because custodians work until 11. So is it past 11? And I will tell you, in only the way that this gentleman can say it, he goes, I don't know, I'm in bed by 9:30. So, and it's absolutely true. His answer. So anyway, I just need to check the camera. I don't know when people are what are saying. We are having some issues with the automatic shut off, but the custodians manually shut the lights off every night when they leave at 11 o'clock. If they're on longer than, I haven't been able to confirm that as of yet. All I need to do is look at a camera and I'll know. I just did not have a chance prior. We are looking into that and we'll suss that out.
Well, I know you have the added extra benefit of the amount of travel I have to do for work and the number of times I drive past the building at an ungodly hour in the morning and they are off. It is only the safety lights off at that time. So I am sure that there have been occasions like we talked about today where, there's been no school for a day and the lights automatically come on and maybe, because other people are also on vacation and they're up later or whatever, there may be instances that's being observed. What we did further talk about is I know that Jared is trying to talk with folks to get that corrected, but also trying to get a grant to get some of this corrected because it could be, it has potential to be tremendously expensive. So please know that a lot of the times when we get asked whether or not we're doing something, if I ask Dr. Casavan, and I do, we are. So another line item I wanted to talk about is there is an increase on school committee line. And I'd be happy to start with that one since it is for school committee. So school committee uses a program called Board Docs to post our meetings, to post our policies, to align to open meeting law, to, you know, do governance in general. And unfortunately, Board Docs was bought out by a new company called Diligent. And last year, Diligent so kindly showed up at our door, said, knock, knock. Guess what? We can move over all of your historical materials because we are legally obligated to maintain those. But guess what? You get to pay us $11,000 now instead of $5,000. And we said, no, thank you. We would have asked that you honor our contract for another year so that we can go out and do all the research. And so then our district operations team did all the research. They met with, I know Danielle said on multiple calls with multiple businesses to try to find an alternative to Diligent that would save us money, but still help us ensure compliance. And ultimately, or there are cheaper options out there? There were, but none of them offered the compliance protections that Diligent did. And since we do live in a town that holds both the Board of Selectmen and the school committee highly accountable for following open meeting law, we determined that that was a priority, and not only on the school committee side, but central office gave me multiple phone calls to say, please, we will give up the technology we wanted in central office for you to maintain this. So yes, you see an increase there. It's for a reason, and it's for one that we felt was necessary. It was not enough to save jobs or to save programs. Let's be clear on that too. But yes, there is that line item increase. One of the other ones that I know a lot of folks asked about was technology. And technology increases in general. Do you want? And so I am neutral as to who speaks to that, but why do we need to, you know, I know that there are also a lot of cuts to the technology line item, but why do we need technology?
I'm answering the question, why do we need technology? That's a big question. Well, one thing I will say is, we were able to mitigate some of that cost of Board Docs convention by cutting the webinar Zoom license. So I don't know if that's what you were referring to.
Yes, it was.
But we're always looking for places that we can cut technology costs without impacting teaching and learning. And there were several this year, and I have my list here that I will just go down the list. So some of the things, so I do a 3-year actually do a 5-year technology budget. It changes from year to year. It's a working budget, and I had some things on the list that would move the district forward in terms of security that we're not going to be able to do. But in terms of the cuts that we were able to make were some Lexia software from it's named Special Ed Technology. Go Teacher, which gives us analytics on how the kids are using technology. We were able to move all of our fax lines, actually virtual fax lines for front and surprisingly, the fax lines are actually still used quite a bit in health offices, front offices, central office, registrars. I'm probably missing some other offices, SPED office. And that is built into our Zoom licenses, so we were able to save about $2,500 just in virtual licenses. We had to downgrade our firewall licenses that to work with it's complicated, but there's an NDR team who looks for breaches in your network. We downgrade that license because we couldn't afford that this year. We were not able to do, and this one was the most heartbreaking. When I came 5 years ago, we got into an equipment replacement plan for our kids, so that our kids could get new devices at certain grades, and so that we could eventually get all of our Chromebooks under warranty, so we didn't have to charge families for breakages. And next year would have been the first year we would have had all of our devices under warranty. We weren't able to afford our leases for next year, so lease costs are around between between iPad for pre-K and SPED and Chromebooks, that's about $45,000. So those are the cuts that we made, going into FY 27. Did that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Great.
So the reason I bring that up is because they are looking at the line items. And any line item you have a question about, if you call central office, they can answer it. I'll be honest, I can't always answer it because I'm not living and breathing in the school system every day. I am not Jess Smith. But, you know, please do call central office and ask when you have those questions because they will be able to answer you. With that, I am gonna open it up for public comment. And so as a reminder, we're going to do 3 minutes per. And we're going to, I have extended, I'm not putting on the 12-minute limit, so as many people who want to speak absolutely can speak. Are you gonna go? Thank you. Yeah, and so Bill is my timekeeper, so he just said he would raise his hand when you have about 30 seconds left, and then we'll call it at the 3 minutes. So the first person on the list is Listo. And so, as you come up, if you can just say your name, and your town of residence. And folks, if anyone is here who does school choice into the district, you are welcome to speak. That is allowed. Just say your name and your town.
I don't know where I'm supposed to be standing.
Right there is great.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Liz Toth, Templeton. I'll make this as quick as I can. So on Easter Sunday, a slide was shared in social media showing planned cuts if NRSD's demand of an almost 25% increase in school funding was not satisfied. While it may not have been the intent, and I'm saying this, may not have been the intent, right? It felt like coercion, especially given the first round of proposed cuts hurting the young student population most. When study after study proves worse long-term student outcomes leads to any reasonable person questioning the motives. NRSD has been prioritizing college-bound instead of the MVP trade program. There needs to be more budgetary transparency. I appreciate very much the adjusted budget presented tonight and the explanations. It helped a lot. It provided some transparency. Phillipston last night, I've been told, I haven't been able to confirm this, voted a 2.5% increase, which still leaves a 10% gap between what was recently presented here. Templeton is currently at a level fund override, unless the override passes. Again, that would also represent a 10% gap. There aren't any easy answers. I appreciate the work everybody's doing, but I also want to make one final comment about the 2019. In 2019, when Templeton Elementary School was opened, there was an issue around the auto shut off the lights. And here we're sitting at 2016 and we still have that issue. So thank you very much. Again, thank you for your work. Please, transparency, I think is the biggest thing. Thanks.
We're restarting and Tim Tilt is next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Many of you know me, Tim Toth, Town of Templeton. I wear multiple hats. Tonight I'm speaking as a private citizen. I'm taking off my select board member hat. Dr. C, thank you for calling out. I believe our count was 7 formal meetings and Lord knows how many hours we were behind the scenes. I raised a question and Chairman, I found on the school's website, there's an 11-page document. It's a draft form. And what I was asking for was to go through this with a little more diligence to see where we ended up with. That's what I was actually looking for, but never really got to that. This was one of our ideations out of those 7 meetings. A lot of information in here. But part of my question and what I've yet to been able to find, I'm looking for actual some of the source and revenue. I appreciate the information shared tonight. I still can't find, and I've yet to hear. And I do appreciate and I understand. You get the bills, what's coming in. My corporate work and where I work and my part-time job, we're going through the same thing. Vendors are coming to us, here's where we are, we're building our budgets, we're looking at the next year coming up. So Purple Star Campus, yay, rah, yeah, we do a lot of stuff. We were recognized for that. That's a great thing. NRSD did well. So a question I have, federal impact dollars. Does anybody on this committee know what that means? Dr. C might. It's a program put in place by the Department of Defense. Federal impact dollars come to us you have to apply for them annually. It impacts all active duty service members. Also, full-time guard and reserves who are activated on Title 10 and Title 32 orders. It's not only a federal program, but it falls under Mass General Law, Chapter 71, subsections 68A, B, and subsections 99A, all military-connected students. I know very well about this. My youngest stepdaughter, when she was in kindergarten here, fell under this. We had a little bit of a challenge because of when a birthday fell. And NRSD knows all about this because I was on active duty on the other side of the country. NRSD almost got sued by the Department of Defense, and I guarantee they were not going to win. So we know very much about this. That's water over the dam, however it's there. Another question I have, I just looked it up before we started. 239 school districts currently in hold harmless. That's a scary number. Has the superintendent's group or have any of the school committees challenged DESE and what is being done at the state level to get any of us out of there to work on all these formulas that we know have failed? I know we've been pushing really hard. Senator Durant is in our court. He went to the State House to fight with us, but we're not getting anywhere. Dr. C, thank you for eloquently stating that. Yes, we're upset with our reps as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me. But yeah, we're paying attention as well. We really are.
Holly Piles. Hopefully I said that last name right. It's on the side. This is the speaking sheet with all your options and like to speak. Excuse you if you change your mind later or raise your hand. James Cormier.
I'm good. You familiar with that?
All right, Don Benoit.
I'm gonna pass, but thank you very much for all your work. I really appreciate it.
Oh boy, all right, I need a teacher. Right there.
Oh, boy.
Andrew, what?
How did you get that?
Was that right?
You signed. It's a signature. Okay. Rick, I'm gonna say Smith, Rich Smith.
Want me to come up there or just?
Yes, please.
Sorry, Dan, you doesn't have to. Can I yield one thing back to Tim? Because I'm sure he wasn't done yet. But no, I just have an observation I saw tonight, honestly. Ex-military, I know Mr. Costa out there, it's ex-military, and we pride ourselves on taking care of them. I'm a very passionate person, but looking around the room tonight, all the administrators out here, everybody working, see one man taking notes, Mr. Case over here, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't think you're doing your job if you're not taking notes right now. How can you take care of our kids if you're not taking notes? You're not engaged. Get engaged. All right? $3 million. Mr. Cosmo's playing with his computer right now. All right?
I'm actually taking this.
Okay, thank you, because I don't see you typing, I just see you doing this.
I'm smart.
$3 million, it's a lot of money. Can't fix it in 1 year. I get it. But what I heard tonight was, we don't have enough time. We took a week, only had a week to get a union thing up. Or we didn't have enough time to get you this answer. We don't have enough time to get that. When did this whole process start? Because at least 10 times tonight, take back the recording, I heard we don't have enough time. That's all I got to say. You got a lot more time. You need to figure out what to do for the kids.
I think Heidi Smith.
Thank you, you said.
Okay,
Are you doing your time with him?
Sally Erickson,
Good.
Kathy Kinney. Hopefully I got, it's Canney.
I sent a letter and I was gonna speak tonight.
Okay, we are intending to, I will read the letters.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron Hardy.
Do I have to come down there?
You don't have to. If you would prefer to stay there, just make sure you project.
That won't be a problem. Good evening, members of the school committee, administrators, and parents. My name is Erin Hardy. I'm from Templeton, and I'm here tonight to advocate on behalf of my son. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Caleb Chappelle, a current sophomore at Narragansett, as well as the many other students who are part of or hope to be part of the MVP program. Caleb was selected as one of the sophomores for the inaugural plumbing class this coming September, and I cannot overstate what the opportunity means to him. Since the sixth grade, he has once become a plumber. When he received his acceptance letter on April 16th, the excitement in our home was overwhelming. It was a moment of pride, motivation, and hope for his future. This excitement is not unique to our family. I spoke with another parent whose son, also a sophomore, was accepted into the MVP program and chose electrical after being waitlisted for 2 years at Monty Tech. For these students, MVP is not just an option, it's an opportunity that might not otherwise exist. I stand before you tonight not just as a parent, but as an advocate for all students who benefit from hands-on, career-focused education. Research consistently shows that students who complete vocational programs are more likely to be employed immediately after high school. These programs increase engagement, improve graduation rates, and provide students with real, practical skills that prepare them for life beyond the classroom. The MVP program does exactly that. It gives students meaningful, hands-on experience in a skilled trade. It equips them with industry-specific knowledge, builds confidence, and opens doors to both employment and further education. It is a pathway to success for students who thrive in applied learning environments, like my son. I remember when MVP program was first introduced to our district. There was so much excitement around the opportunities that it would bring, and it has delivered on that promise. It has helped expand the access to vocational education and reduce barriers for students who might otherwise be left waiting or without options. Programs like MVP don't just teach skills, they shape futures. They give students direction, purpose, and a head start in building meaningful careers. I respectfully urge the school committee and will urge the town to continue to support the MVP program, not to cut it. Doing so would deprive our students of a valuable opportunity and one that can truly change the course of their lives. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. John Valentine.
Hi, everyone. John Valentine, Templeton. I've moved here 4 years ago. I love it. And I care about the town, and you guys do an incredibly high job. But on the same token, we need to somehow cut out the minutia and make real hard decisions so we could save services and think outside the box. Maybe there's more, you raise fee income by the services that you use. I don't know the ins and outs. Does everyone in Templeton get school bus no matter where they live? Does everyone get bused even if they live half a mile down the road?
We can speak, it isn't
It's just a common thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
just comment and then
okay,
we will
Sure.
spend time. I've written down questions,
okay.
come back to them.
So, anyhow, in a long story, it looks to me, it looks to me that the school's looking for a $2 million increase over last year for 23%, based off this information from the town. That seems excessive to me. There's only so much money that the town has. Yes, they have an override vote, but at the end of the day, it's not endless. Whether it works this time or it doesn't, you have to control the expenses. And yes, there's contracts with teachers and everything else like that. We want a fair wage for everyone. But there's also a limit to what people could pay. So I see in this illustration that you were cutting 2.6 And because two administrators left, now I could only cut 1.3. So two people cost 1.3 million? That's what it looks like to me. I may be naive about that, but that's what it looks like. That seems excessive. More about the kids, do the best you can, keep an eye on the dollar, maybe a little less minutia will save everyone money. In terms of the lights going on, I've driven by that school. Every single light is on. Okay, if the custodians work, this is just a small little example, but there's probably hundreds or thousands. Every light is on in the school. You don't have a custodian every room. So just bringing that up, I care about the community. We need to do stuff for the kids, but also you need to worry about the taxpayer. And at the end of the day, if we have money over here, yes, life increases, but we all face that situation in our own limits. We can't get what we don't have. So choices need to be made. Wise choices for everyone. Thank you.
Next is Daniel D.
Good evening. So I'm going to speak to you. My wife and I kind of put a letter together. I had great conversations with Dr. Cassiman. Colby and I have a great working relationship, same with Marcy. So good evening. My name is Daniel Dean. My wife is Julie. We're from Baldwinville. My son is the other one that she was talking about. So we're here tonight as parents who are deeply concerned about the loss of an potential educational loss opportunity for our students, especially my son, Daniel, who's a sophomore here. We know much of the conversation has focused on cuts to athletics. And while those are important, we're here to speak about something just as critical, access to meaningful educational pathways like the MVP program. For some students, including my son, this program is not just an extra thing. It's a pathway to keep them engaged, motivated, hopeful about his future. My son has been working incredibly hard to get where he is today. He has faced significant medical challenges, including having multiple surgeries at Shriners Hospitals for children, having both of his legs broken, and then having to get reset and being in a wheelchair. So just to be able to walk correctly. So despite that, he's been able to push forward, always have a positive attitude for the most part. He's an active member in Scouts, serves as a junior firefighter with the Templeton Fire Department in our Explorer post. Participates in student leadership, is an avid participant in the robotics program. And most recently, and something that my wife and I are both very proud of, was just inducted in the National Honor Society. He's shown resilience, determination, and commitment every part of his life. Like many of his classmates, Daniel's applied to Monty Tech and have been waitlisted multiple times. But he still hasn't given up. He applied through the MVP program, went through a competitive application and interview process, and waited anxiously on that decision, which he was finally given on April 16th. I will say prior to that, I started noticing quite depression in my son until that letter came. So that moment meant everything to him, validated his hard work that he's had, and it showed a clear direction to his future. Then just days later through Facebook, we found that that program may be cut through Facebook. That's how we found out. As a parent, we can fully put into words how discouraging that felt. These students have already experienced constant changes, switching schools in their earlier years due to construction, adapting through COVID, and watching opportunity disappear year after year. The marching band was cut just as their class became eligible despite the strong participation. Now, once again, something meaningful is being taken away from them. So I just thank you, and I urge you to reconsider if that's what the avenue is. So thank you. Thank you.
I do, if the school committee is fine with it, we also have a few letters that I was going to read as part of public input since they're very relevant to this discussion. Does anyone oppose to that? But before I do that, is there anyone who would like to sign up to speak? Seeing none. All right, so bear with me. Oh, he's changed his mind.
Oh, and Philip's spot.
Just as a reminder, say your name since we didn't,
Sure, absolutely. My name is Justin Piles. I am a resident of Tupton. I actually have a daughter that's in the school system here in middle school and a son that's freshman year at Monty Tech. So I wanted to thank you all for inviting us all this evening to speak our minds and be heard as well. I haven't been to one of these meetings in a very long time, but just from the general conversation I've heard tonight already, I've taken out a few notes, so I do have some concerns and I just would like to express them. Dr. C, you mentioned that the political council reps for the state were not voting in our favor. I'm kind of curious to find out if there's any other areas that are also receiving that same type of treatment from those reps as well. And as you mentioned, this could be a political two-step jargon that you're receiving. So could this be related to how our town has turned out in its voting for 2024? Right, most of us voted red in this town. Also in Phillipston, I looked up the stats while we were all sitting here listening. But most of the blue states or blue towns were in the large metro areas. So did they receive their funding and increases while the others did not? Just a question. Now, one of the beauty things about contracts, and I appreciate you guys actually bringing up the data contract for securing our information. You actually mentioned that you reached out to them to extend the contract, amend it. Now, you had also mentioned that the teachers are under contract. That means there's guidelines that also can be set, and could they be amended? I also appreciate the fact that you gave a specific background of the teacher increases or salary increases. Never did I hear anything above 4% or up to 4% until this year. Everything was 2.5% or lower, going back all the way to 2010. So could we revisit the contract and ask them to bear with us as we go through this financial crisis? It's a question. All we can do is ask. I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have one other question. It might just be a clerical error, but I was taking a look at the cuts. I'm sorry. The cuts, the level fund impact. You have the PE teacher down for almost $100,000 in salary alone. Is that individual or for Ms. Type Hair? That's an individual salary for $100,000, and teachers are getting a third less than that. Well, you have down here that the third grade and first grade teachers are under $60,000. But a PE teacher's receiving almost 100.
well, we won't engage in back and forth right
Yeah.
now, but.
That just bears the question of what?
Yeah, I've written that down and we will make sure, I've written down different questions that came up right now and we'll make sure that we go through all of them.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll be short, I promise.
All right, just make sure you say your name and town very clearly.
I got that, just. My name is Crystal Lyskow, I'm from Templeton. Addressing the lights, just saying. There's a lot of other people that use the gym and we're there till 9. Some people are there till 10. Our athletics use the gym. I know that I'm a coach for the school. Our teams are there sometimes until 8 o'clock at night. So the gym is being used, the lights are on because we can't really do what we do in the dark. Just saying that.
Good evening, members of the school committee, faculty, parents, community members. My name is Crystal Iskow, and I'm here to speak about the proposed decision by the Narragansett Regional School District cuts. I want to be very clear. This isn't just about sports. This is about students. Athletics are not an extra. They are an extension of the classroom. On the field and in the gym or on a track, students learn discipline, teamwork, accountability, and resilience. These are not abstract ideas. These are life skills that carry into adulthood, careers, and relationships. For many students, athletics are the reason they come to school. They provide structure, motivation, and sense of belonging. When you take that away, you're not just removing games, you're removing critical support systems. We also have to consider the broader impact. Athletics keeps students engaged, connected into their community. They build school pride. They foster mentorships between coaches and students, and for some, they open doors to college opportunities that might not otherwise exist. Cutting athletics is a risk and risks increased absenteeism, decreased student engagement, and fewer opportunities for students to grow into confident, well-rounded individuals. If the concern is financial, then the conversation should be about solutions, not elimination. There are alternatives, partnerships, fundraising, restructuring programs, but not removing athletics entirely. We are shaping the environment our students grow up in. The question we have to ask is, what do we want that environment to look like? Do we want a system that only focuses on academics in isolation, or one that recognizes that students' success is built through a balance of intellectual, physical, and social development? Athletics are part of a balance. I would like to thank you guys for your time. And I also want to just explain to you that my two daughters, they were very socially set back. They didn't find their people until they were involved in these sports. And there's a lot of kids like that. And for a lot of kids, this is their safe space. Thank you.
I'm gonna do one last call for anyone. And thank you to all of you who spoke. I know it's hard. It's like, it is really, really hard to stand in front of a room of people and speak. And I do it on TV all the time, honestly, like it's hard. All right, so bear with me, I'm going to read the letters. If I mess up anybody's words, Mr. Dean, I did get the email from your wife. Is it okay if I skip over that one? Because I was checking and seeing that it was the same letter that you just read, yes? Okay, thank you. All right, this is from Michelle O'Donnell. She wrote to say, good afternoon, I am writing to, oh, and actually, can you time me while I'm reading these just for equity? And to make sure that I don't go past the 3 minutes, because some of these are. So again, Michelle O'Donnell, Linderson. Good afternoon, I am writing today to plead with the school committee to remove the MVP Academy from the budget cuts. My son, Bo, has already lost soccer, his lifelong passion, and I'm not sure what we will do if he loses this program as well. Soccer was his life, and he was incredibly talented. I saw a part of him die the day the boys' soccer was canceled. He went into his room, removed everything soccer related there was a loft, and threw it in a box in the basement where it remains today. He hasn't been the same since. We noticed a huge decline in his self-confidence and he became depressed. He had lost his identity. All of that changed when he found out he had been selected for the MVP Academy. We saw that spark slowly start to return. His self-confidence began to be restored, and he stopped isolating himself. Since beginning at MVP, we have seen such an improvement in his mental health, confidence, and his drive to succeed. He is finally excited to go to school. If you look at his transcripts, you will see that our child, who is averaging around a C, is now getting all A's and is making the principal's list. This program has been the best thing to happen to Bo. A child who always said he wanted to grow up to be a professional soccer player is now saying he wants to be an electrician. He now has realistic and attainable goals. He has a new identity, and it's been amazing to watch him develop. I'm not sure how to proceed at this point. I'm not sure what a world without MVP would look like for Bo, but I know it won't be good. I pray that the school will get the funding it needs, and I will do everything I can as a registered voter to see that it does. Regardless, I pray that the school committee can see how crucial it is to keep this program in our district. This program can change lives. This next letter is from Kathy Canny. Dear school committee members, did I give you enough time? All right. I am writing to urge you to support the school district's proposed budget. The proposed budget increase is modest considering the needs of the district. The district already operates with limited resources, resulting in a minimum curriculum, limited support services, and limited extracurricular resources, as well as outdated facilities. I will vote to approve the tax override to generate additional revenue needed to support our schools. Last year's final school district budget resulted in devastating reductions that included elimination of staff, reduction of buses, and implementation of family paid user fees for student participation in extracurricular activities. I am willing to continue to pay user fees to allow students to have a well-rounded education with participation in activities that provide students opportunities. The elimination of the late bus meant students who needed to stay after school for academic support or other reasons could not do so unless a family member was available in mid-afternoon to pick them up. This does not support student success. Investing in our schools means investing in our community and our children's futures. A strong public school system is the cornerstone of a thriving community. If staff positions and programs such as athletics are eliminated, there will be families that will pursue school choice, costing the district and therefore adding to the budget expenditures. The quality and reputation of our schools is a major factor for families making the decision to reside in our towns. It is essential to invest in our schools. I urge you to make decisions that prioritize our students and invest in our community. Please provide our schools with the necessary resources to foster our children's development and future. This next letter is from Daniel Sanchez. I am writing as a parent within the Narragansett Regional School District community to express my concern regarding the potential elimination of sports programs in the MVP program. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge and thank you for the work you do in supporting our students and maintaining the quality of education in the district. I understand that difficult decisions are sometimes necessary, and I genuinely respect the challenges you are facing. That said, the programs currently under consideration for reduction or removal are extremely important, not only to my children, but to many families in this community. Athletics provide far more than physical activity. They teach discipline, teamwork, accountability, and resilience, skills that carry far beyond the classroom. For many students, sports are also a key factor in staying engaged, motivated, and connected to school. Equally important is the MVP program in partnership with the Montezut Regional Vocational Technical School. This program offers students a unique and valuable opportunity to explore trade skills while still participating in a traditional public high school environment. Given the extensive waitlist at Monty Tech, the MVP program serves as a critical pathway for students who might otherwise not have access to vocational training. These programs are not extras, they are essential components of a well-rounded education and play a significant role in preparing students for real-world access. I want to be transparent and respectful in saying that if these programs are eliminated, it will significantly impact my family's ability to remain in the district. While I deeply value the school community, I would have to seriously consider moving my children to another district that offers these opportunities. My hope is that the district can find alternative solutions that preserve these vital programs for our students and community. Thank you for your time, consideration, and continued commitment to our children. This next letter is from Amanda Adams. First, I just want to say thank you so much for all you do. You are an amazing team. Oh, sorry. This was actually, I will caveat, this was meant for Jess Smith. And I started at the beginning and I forwarded that piece of the letter to her. And then she went into her dear school committee members letter. Let me start over on that one. She apologized. And she is an amazing person. And she is an amazing person. We agree. Dear members of the school committee, my name is Amanda Adams and I am the mother of Alexander, a junior at Narragansett Regional High School. Alex has been part of this district since first grade, and I wanted to share our family's experience as you consider the proposed cuts and the override vote. My son was diagnosed with ADHD at 5 years old, and school has never come easily to him. Over the years, he has faced significant challenges, including the disruption of COVID and the loss of a sibling, yet he has continued to push forward and make it to his junior year of high school. That did not happen by accident. I'm sorry, I read the loss of a sibling. That did not happen by accident. It happened because of the support systems this district has worked hard to provide. One of the biggest reasons Alex has been able to succeed is because of the academic coaching and educational support available to him through our schools. Programs like these are not extras for students like my son. They are essential. They are the difference between students falling behind and students believing they are capable of succeeding. When I look at the proposed cuts, I do not see just numbers on a page. I see real students, real families, and real futures being impacted. I see teachers, paraprofessionals, behavioral support staff, extracurriculars, athletics, and academic programs that children rely on every single day. A strong school system benefits the entire community, not just the students currently enrolled. Good schools strengthen property values, attract families, and help create a stronger town for everyone. Investing in education is investing in the future of our community. I understand budgets are difficult and these decisions are not made lightly, but I urge the committee and the community to consider the long-term impact these cuts will have on students who are already working hard to succeed. Our children deserve more than simply getting by. They deserve opportunities, support, and a school system that gives them every chance to succeed. Thank you for your time and for everything you do for our students and families. This next letter is from Kay Smith. I am writing to voice my concerns over the announced budget cuts for our school district. I believe that the two most important functions of a town government are to ensure the safety of its residents, police, fire, etc., and to provide the best possible education for our future generations. We have moved forward with a new elementary school to replace our old schools. This school is very impressive with many advanced teaching aids, and it is intended to be staffed to optimal class sizes, thus ensuring adequate time to work with each student. The first few years of a child's school experience has a direct effect on their future as not only a student but also as an adult. Considering all of the planning, good intention, and money that has been provided to create this environment, this is not the time to pull the plug and cut staff. The school doesn't educate the student, the teachers do. Cutting teachers will ensure that our class sizes are high. This is one thing that at higher levels of education, but at the elementary level, this is detrimental to not only the future of those children, but also to our town. One of the larger contributors to a town's value is their school district. If the schools fail, the town will not be far behind. Please consider making cuts in other areas, but not to our teachers. And this next letter is the final letter from Janet Wheeler. To the school committee and superintendent, we are writing to express our deep concern regarding the proposed budget cuts to our teaching and educational staff. These positions are the backbone of our schools, and losing them will directly impact the quality of education and the well-being of our students. Teachers and support staff do more than just deliver lessons. They provide stability, mentorship, and the individual attention our children need to succeed. Reducing our workforce will lead to larger class sizes and fewer resources for students who are already facing significant challenges. I urge you to reconsider these reductions and explore all other financial avenues, including the use of reserve funds or advocating for increased state aid to keep our educators in the classroom. Our children's future should be the priority, and that starts with protecting the people who teach them every day. Every elementary classroom teacher faces challenges with students that did not exist 5 years ago. We all need to support this remarkable team of teachers. Sincerely concerned grandparents. So again, thank you to everyone who chose to speak and to everyone who took the time to write into us. We sincerely appreciate hearing from our public, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. You know, everyone brings something to the table in terms of understanding how our communities come together as friends. All right. So the next item on the budget is a budget vote. But before we get into budget vote, I did want to run through some of the questions that came up and make sure that folks have answers to the best of our ability. So let's start with I'm going to assume it was a federal grant that Mr. Toth was speaking about. My first response is going to be that the person who wrote nearly the vast majority of our grants was our assistant superintendent. And when our assistant superintendent leaves us, that leaves an entire missing position, and will naturally, her responsibilities do not go away. The high school principal's responsibilities do not go away. They get redivided over the remaining administrators. And each one of those administrators has less time to do the things that they try to fit into a day. And I'm going to guess they don't fit it into a day, that they work a lot of extra hours. And so I will start there. However, I will also state that this district applies for many, 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 many grants. And so could you speak to some of the grants that we apply for but don't receive, because we don't always talk about the ones that we apply for and don't receive, in addition to some of the ones we have received?
Sure. So some of the grants that we receive currently, we receive, for federal grants, we receive our Title I grant, our Title IIA grant, Title IV grant, our 240 grant, which covers mostly special education related costs. We receive, get funding code 311, I believe, but we receive the SEL grant currently. We have in the past received a early grades literacy grant. We receive, the year we implemented the MVP program, we received the implementation grant, which funded our class, the teacher that supports the academic side here for 1 year. And then we built that into the budget to support the program following that. Because we are looking to expand to add plumbing, we become eligible next year to apply for the implementation grant again for a 1 year period. So that would fund, I should say it funded a portion of our teaching position, not the full position. We'd be looking to have that do the same thing for next school year, but we're not eligible to apply for that until we receive the designation, which we have gone through the process to apply for this school year. So the implementation grant is anticipated to be released by DESE the end of May, early June. So I do plan to write that before my contract ends up. We have not applied for any grants we have not received that I'm aware of this year. We've received all the grants we've applied for. But in the past, we have applied for a few grants that we've not received because they've been very competitive. And we just, haven't received them, unfortunately. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what some of those were. We applied for a grant to support our EL department last year with additional ongoing professional development, training, curriculum writing, and service delivery support through DESE. We did not receive that grant, even though we had spent a year in a cohort model with DESE working towards getting our EL department back into compliance for services and looking at indicators for DESE for EL support. So we're back in compliance now, but we did not receive that ongoing grant to continue that support outside of district hours with the team. That's an example of one we did not receive. Dan Marie could probably speak for it.
I can chime in on a couple of them. We've applied several times for grants that DESE offers for updating your equipment in the cafeteria. We received it the very first year we applied, but they give priority to those who have never gotten it. So the last 2 times I've applied, they have not given it to us. But we also facilities through our insurance company. They offer some small grants for safety or equipment, and we've applied for those and successfully.
I should add, when we brought the MVP program on, we did explore private funding grants to help us with those operating costs. So we reached out to a financial company that was looking to support education. We applied and we didn't even hear back. We didn't even get a no thank you. We just got no response. But we did work with Monty Tech. Actually, they have recommended a couple of private investment companies that had supported them in the past that we had looked at and applied for some private grants as well. But we unfortunately we did a lot of energy to write those and gather the information and those didn't go anywhere. But we're always looking for those opportunities to continue. And we're also looking for things like Mr. Toth mentioned, like designations like the Purple Star that will then help us be able to apply for grants down the road as well. So, those processes to write those applications are pretty lengthy and require a lot of input from a variety of stakeholders. So the Purple Star designation took a team of folks working, a handful of months to write and make sure that we have things in place to demonstrate that we met all of the criteria for as well. So, sometimes it's not necessarily grants, but it's designations that help us apply for grants, such as the plumbing designation, which then makes us eligible for different grants as well.
I know in the technology side, we also are doing a number of grants as well.
Yeah, so every year, we apply for the E-rate federal grant and, our percentage changes from year to year. But last year was 80%. So $0 came out of our general budget for, between rural aid and 80% of the E-rate. We replaced all of our access points in the district. It pays 80% of our license fees for our access points every year and 80% of our internet for both building and without fiber. As well, for the last 4 years, we've applied for a state grant to do fishing tests with our staff, which they love so much. And a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we applied for, which you probably already know, the COPS grant. We were one of 3 schools in the state, one of 7 in New England that received, I forget the amount that it paid for, all new cameras, all new door access systems, all new alarms, all new phones, a new website, and all of that came out of the COPS grant. So those are, a lot of those are ongoing, and we're actually in talks with Templeton now and with the state for a green energy grant about Templeton Elementary School. That's ongoing.
There was an additional question. We're not exchanging, we're not doing back and forth, so.
I just want to make one comment.
I know.
This is not a grant.
Excuse me,
You're
I am the
leaving-
chair. I am the chair. If you would like to deliver that information later, we would be happy to receive it over email. I was very clear that we are not doing back and forth conversation.
It was a correction, it's not.
We are not doing back and forth communication.
Thank you.
We are going to be following the rules. Please and thank you. I appreciate that, everyone. Okay, at the state level, we were also asked whether or not we are advocating at the state level. The answer is yes. We've been asked this a few times. So the way that that works is, the school committee is part of the MASC, superintendents are part of something called MASS. And that advocacy happens through those groups. And so essentially, most of us did not attend the school committee, what is it called, conference this past fall. So what usually happens at that point is that there's a lot of discussion around what are they going to advocate for at the state. I'm going to tell you right now, Chapter 70 aid and rural aid are on that every single time. Every single time. Heather, do you want to talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Every year during that conference, we convene what's called the delegate assembly, which is representatives from every single school committee. This year was a fluke year that many of us had other private matters that do not bear discussing here that prevented us from attending this year. But Chapter 70, among many, many other proposals and why did I just forget the name of the word for it? Resolutions are brought forth by school committees across the Commonwealth who are members of the MASC, stands for the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. We bring forth other concerns in the form of what we call a resolution to declare to MASC what our priorities are, across all the school committees. And yes, Chapter 70 is on every single one of those. But what they will tell you is, if you look into the legislative process, it's slow. It's slow. There's nothing slower than it.
And I know that when we received our communications from MASC and, we do get, I talk with folks at MASC level on a fairly regular basis because guess what? Sometimes I have questions about school committee and how other districts have done something. And so I will call them and, we do hear from them on a regular basis, and Chapter 70 and rural aid continues to be something that they are legislating for. And I know that the same is true at the MSS. Busing. There was a question around, do we bus all students, or how does busing work in our district?
You have to have, like, the law is 1.5 miles. If you live 1.5 miles close to the school, you don't have to be bused. As you all know, there aren't very many sidewalks in Templeton, so we bus, but there is a big walking distance
especially for the middle high school, because they're older, that they're expected to walk. The bus doesn't stop there. I know you've probably all seen the parent pickup lines and drop off lines, and as much as we don't like the traffic, I am personally thankful for that, because if all of those kids were on buses, I would need to run a lot.
Alright. 1.3 million, there was a question around how did, with the loss of two administrators, should we go from the 2.6 and the 2.3 down to 1.3 million? It's not, it is a completely different budget scenario. What we were trying to communicate, though I can understand, it gets very confusing when we're talking about multiple scenarios. So essentially what happened is, the first budget that the school committee talked about was called the level service budget, where we maintained all services. That is the one that you see where it says 24% increase to the town, that includes the roof, and so it's actually about 22% increase to the town just for the school. So that was the budget, that was the reason that we passed that budget is because you can never, once a school committee passes a budget, they can never go back up, they can only go down. And so knowing that there was a lot of conversations happening across the towns, we determined that this was, the best budget to pass in that moment until we got additional information that could further inform what budget levels we need to consider. We then started to consider a budget that was level service less $1.3 million. At that time, the cuts that were included in that level service to less 1.3 included the elementary, a lot of elementary teachers. It did not include administrators and a number of other items. I'm not going to try to cite them from memory. That is when a lot of folks rose up to say, why are you cutting elementary? Why are you not cutting administrators? Part of the reason that we started where we started is because we have to start with what we know. And at that time, we did not know that we were going to lose two administrators. And so a lot of the scenarios we were looking at the time, I mean, the folks around the table can repeat this, was the cut of elementary teachers. Then we got additional information from the towns that they needed us to start to look at what if there was no override, at which point they would do level funding. Level funding means you have the exact same budget for FY26 as you do in FY27. And then what they confirmed in one of their meetings when they discussed the $2 million override is if the $2 million override was approved, then they would give us the 2.5%. Under the level funded scenario, we would have to cut $2.6 million from level service. And under the 2.5% increase, we would have to cut $2.3 million. And so what I was attempting to bring back up is that we have the 2.3 or $2.6 million level funded scenario. We have the $2.3 million, 2.5% increase scenario. But we had been discussing this $1.3 million scenario, but as the information we had has changed between when we originally discussed it and now, I wanted to showcase how what would be cut under that $1.3 million scenario could change. I hope that clears things up. So then we also had reps and a question around whether or not we see things happening. Do we see things happening in other districts? Like, are other districts getting more money and we're not getting?
Yeah,
I can take a stab at it if
question-
you want me to.
is this the question about red or blue, red and blue?
Yes.
Okay. So I will tell you, well, it's August, it's well known that Rep. Zalutnik is a Democrat. Rep. Whips is an independent. And I don't know for a fact, but I think if I watched the vote list, I believe I don't remember if every Democrat voted against it or not. I don't remember that or where the Republican. So I really can't answer that question. I know that the senator was pretty adamant who is Republican, just to keep everything on the same space here. And and that he was advocating to increase. So I don't have any indication that that was the point of it. I will say this, though. Quote, there are, I think we are the last urban, don't quote me, because I don't know about, southern Mass or down below the Cape, the Cape Horn or whatever, but, there are no urban, rural districts, from Leominster, guaranteed, from Leominster, or from us all the way to probably Boston. So they probably have no, and Representative Zlotnick did talk about the fact that a lot of those representatives like, why would I increase rural aid? I have no bearing, it doesn't affect me. So I can't speak if it was the party line. If it was a Templeton thing, so. But that I don't know. I think the other question that also came, was the teacher question, like the PE teacher is being paid at.
That was
what it
next comment.
95. Yeah, so that all depends on, I believe that I don't know this for a fact, but looking at that number, they have a master's plus 45. So they have a master's degree plus 45 additional credits and probably well over 10 or 12 years of experience. Whereas the other folks that were mentioned do not. They fall somewhere, lower in the scale. Yeah.
Less experience. And that's, just to add to that, that's what, the question that Sean asked and what I further added clarification to is that within a teacher contract, not only is there, a negotiated increase that goes to everyone, there's also, it's called steps. And essentially there's a couple of different ways to go through the steps. One is through the number of years you've been working with the district, because we're incentivizing teachers to stay. The other is by getting additional education. And so depending on getting additional education as well as years of service, you make your way through the salary schedule. This is the same type of increase format that I'm going to say every district that I've looked at has. It is pretty standard. But that is how you will find, a teacher that is getting paid $60,000 versus a teacher who's getting paid 70, 80, whatever comparison you want to make. There's lots of teachers in this room. I see them all nodding. There's husbands and wives of teachers who are nodding. So this is pretty standard. I will open it up to the school committee. Were there any questions that you heard that I have missed? Because I do want to make sure that if I missed a question that.
Well, opening the contract. But.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So to open a contract, you have to request that, to demand a bargain is not necessarily the term, but you have to get agreement on both sides. In terms of timing, we learned on Thursday that we were all to receive so much of the override and that we were going to be level funded. So that did, in fact, it was a tight squeeze to get everything done all at the same time. So, but the letter was written, it was delivered on Monday. So I haven't heard back. I'm sure it will be at the end of the week, which is one.
Yeah, and you did remind me, there was also a question about Phillipston. Phillipston did vote to pass the 2.5% version of the budget last night. I was at the meeting. What I do want to make clear is that at any point, school committee can vote in a budget independently of the town. Essentially what happens is if neither town passes budget, then we go into what's called 1/12. That's a very complicated process through which budgeting gets determined. The other scenario that happens is if, Phillipston and Templeton vote for different budget amounts, then there's what's called a district-wide meeting. Some of you may remember that we did have one of those back when we were all wearing masks outside. And in that case, it is actually a joint meeting between Phillipston and Templeton that they come together to make a final vote on the school budget. Okay, so I know, let me first just acknowledge that school budgets are really, really complicated and really, really difficult to follow and understand. So the fact that so many of you showed up tonight and stayed for as long as you did to try to understand this, I appreciate you.
Okay, yes,
Still have to have commentary now that we've done.
we're not going to have any back and forth because it would go against
No,
our.
I don't, see, this is my statement, it's not that.
Oh, if you have if you have a statement, yes,
Yes.
please.
Thanks. I also want to thank everybody who came up and spoke. It is also important to understand, as Dr. Cassidy just mentioned, and so did Madam Chair, that, even if the override passes, right, that is not, that does not imply that we are, that sum of money has been declared or what that is going to be. So I would also encourage you to raise your concerns with both the town of Templeton and the town of Phillipston and let them know where you feel on that situation, as they are the ones that are the driving forces of where the override money gets spent. As a lot of people know, I do support education across the board, and I also support a town not getting bankrupt over education as well. With all that being said, in the proposed cuts, just remember that someone's now going to do someone else's job. All the way from the assistant superintendent down to the first grade, to be very clear, for the same money. So with that, my wish and my hopes are for the town and the school committee to work together and take the time that was brought up and to get it right for a solution. So, thank you.
Any other comments from school committee before we start considering a vote on an alternative budget? Yes.
I heard all of you, I read the letters, we received them individually, to the school committee. Thank you for anyone that has any comments, and we all are concerned also. I'm, the type of person that likes to volunteer a lot for many things. I heard someone say, is there a solution? I think of these things, I think, wow, you know, the teachers that are doing the extracurricular activities after school, arts, or anything that they're doing, could they volunteer their time? I don't know. Sports, there are coaches, many people that do many things. I know the towns have kids that are playing sports. Could we reach out to them? Would anyone volunteer? I don't know. So those are always things that I think about too. And the user fees, I heard someone say, I'm willing to pay the user fees. There are ways, if we can all work together, I hope we can get things done too, because kids are very important and we all do care and we hear you. So thank you for being here tonight.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I would just comment and state, as it relates to representation politics, we are not the only district that is currently facing this crisis. This is a statewide issue. It is especially exacerbated for districts outside of 495 enrollment.
First, I have a comment. So I have been serving on this committee for 4 years. Tonight is actually supposed to be my last meeting. Because I'm not running for another term. I have to share that it's been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had. It's also been one of the most difficult and has required a tremendous amount of effort and time and patience. Everyone sitting at this table shows up for every meeting, for every conversation. We have access to the information ahead of time, and so many of us are making sure that we're prepared for the meetings. This past holiday, I bought myself a pair of Fiscal earbuds. Splurged the Black Friday sale, don't worry. Because I listen back to every single school committee meeting that we have. And I read through all of the notes, hoping that I caught everything, making sure that I didn't miss anything, so that I can stay fully engaged while I am here and get the job done. Everyone at this table does. One of the most difficult things about the budgeting process is that we know we have to make cuts. We know that the town is suffering, but nobody wants those cuts to be something that impacts kids. Everything on this budget impacts kids in some ways. It is incredibly painful to hear the stories from families about how specific cuts are going to impact their children. And I want you to know that we hear them. We have children in the school district as well. These decisions will impact all of them in some way. But the reality is that when cuts need to be made, they have to be made. And it's our job collectively to decide what are the priorities. What are we going to make sure we protect, and what are we going to make sure we carry forward? We've advocated in all of the ways that we can for change at the state level in terms of Chapter 70 funding. We know that rural districts are particularly impacted by a formula that doesn't work, a system that is broken. Our representatives are not helping the way that we need them to. This is not the time for the town to turn on the school system or the school system to turn on the town. We need people to get involved. This is a thankless job, but it's important. And I encourage anyone in this room or anyone that will listen back to the meeting or anyone who's watching from home to get involved in any way you can. It doesn't mean you have to run for school committee. Doesn't mean you have to show up for every meeting. It doesn't mean that you have to run for any position open in the town. But writing a letter to us, letting us know what your thoughts are, going to the town, going to the select board, explaining to them how you're feeling, what your priorities are. That needs to be the way we do things. And in the spirit of collaboration, I am asking that for those people participating in the online things that are happening, to approach your commentary from a place of curiosity rather than finger pointing, rather than spreading misinformation. Take that energy and use it in a place and in a way that helps our town and that helps our kids.
Yeah, so Dr. Cassavant, he has the luxury of getting to leave the table when he needs to. The rest of us have to stay here in order it's noted on a piece of paper.
It's great.
He gets that one benefit. So I usually wait till last to speak because I'm the chair and I want to make sure that the voices of the people around me are heard before mine is heard. But that's the mean that I am working and things to say. So the first thing I wanted to say is I saw a lot of requests for the school committee to go through this budget line by line by line by line in public. And hear it. It would be inappropriate. It would be irresponsible for us to do that because there are topics in this line item budget that the school committee cannot be privy to nor discuss. There are a lot of teachers and administrators in this room that know about student privacy laws, that know about staffing privacy laws. They know about credentialing. They know about things that school committee will never know about. And so we cannot, and it would never be appropriate for the school committee to go line by line through the budget. Our line item budget at the school committee level are the categories. That's what school committee approves. The administration, the 1000s, the administration, the 2000s is instructional. Thank you. I'm not going to be able to name them all. The 3000s is
Transportation and other services.
thank you. That is the level, that is school committee's line item budget. It doesn't mean that we never have questions. We absolutely do. We absolutely have questions and we ask them. I mean, Sean is probably my top person's like, I'm gonna throw out a question here. You know, and I love that about him. And I love that about the people that surround me at this table when they ask questions. But I am telling you right now, we could get in a world of hurt if school committee were to try to have discussions about the staff in this document at this table. It would be inappropriate, not to mention legally a problem. So that will never happen, and you won't hear other school committees doing it either. If you do hear a school committee doing it, you should ask a lot of questions because they are operating at a level where they do not belong. The other thing I wanted to say is that I do not think a level funded nor a 2.5% increase is what's best for this town. Not just for the school, not just for the, our district, but for our towns. And the reason that I do not believe that is if you cut things like athletics, I mean, I don't know who's been to Friday Night Lights, but it is a vibe. It's a vibe. And I don't think that the mass exodus that our school system would face as kids decide to for our town or for our district. It is deeply concerning to me. I also have 2 children in this district. Now, I have a middle schooler who's a really passionate baseball player, and I have a 3rd grader as well. And so every time I show up at this table, I show up as a parent and as a school committee member and as a resident of this town. And I'm really proud to sit here and to represent the people that voted me. And every single thing that impacts your kids impacts my kids too. My heart literally leaves my house 5 days a week to come to these schools. Now I'm gonna want people crying out. And so many people across this table, and it's also not true for a few people at this table, and that does not mean that they care any less, because if it's not their kids, they know a kid. Because we live in a tight-knit community. And so I take these decisions really seriously. And there are teachers in this district that I cannot express the love that I feel for them because of how they have cared for my children. And so any of the teachers can tell you that, like, I nearly lost it last year when we had to do cuts. And every time we do it, it is like, I feel it. I really, really feel it. And I take this job very seriously. And I put a tremendous number of hours into it. And for those of you who don't know, not a single person at this table gets paid for their second job. And it's a second job. That's the number of hours people put in. So I felt it was important for you to hear all that from me. This budget discussion is really, really important. There is a lot of heart that goes into it. There's a lot of facts that go into it. There's a lot of energy and time and effort and sweat equity. And I cannot tell you the number of hours that the people on this side of the room has spent coming up with different budget scenarios, trying to find the best possible options in a set of really tough budget scenarios. So I hope that you heard that from me. My apologies for getting emotional. I try not to, but every once in a while, I gotta be human, my friends. I gotta be human. All right. So I do want to talk with my fellow school committee members about, we do have a budget that we voted on. And I'm gonna share my personal opinion, but please do not let it influence the rest of you. My personal opinion is that
I don't know how many of you have read the information that was put out on Templeton's website about all the cuts the town is facing for fire, for police, et cetera, if the override does not pass. And I'll talk about the override in a minute, but I don't want to focus on that right now, because what I want to focus on is that when our town hurts, we hurt too. And so as much as I would love to stay at the level service amount that we had previously passed, my recommendation as chair to this committee is that, well, I'm gonna be honest, I would not feel comfortable voting for either the level funded or the 2.5% budget scenarios as a committee, if we are forced to, and we will have to go there. But I personally would need to be forced to. It would have to be the only option left on the table, and right now I do feel like we have another viable option, which is the $1.3 million in cuts. I would love to say we're in a space where we could just make no cuts. I don't think we are. And I do think we have to try to be as good a partner as we can to our towns by at least considering the $1.3 million budget scenario. And so I would like to hear from my fellow school committee members before I put a motion on the table. So that we can consider, is that a budget scenario that we are collectively feeling would be one to consider? Sean.
It's me, I'm sorry. I feel the same way, with the caveat of, that we did just gain 2 administrative positions on that cut list. And meeting their salaries as well, with the caveat that we need to go into the conversations with the town, that's also the table.
Can you better explain that?
Sure.
I'm not understanding.
Right, so you essentially replaced different positions with those two administrative salaries.
Right, we use the administrative salaries to return some of the teaching positions, if you refer to the.
Correct. I think what I'm saying is I'm also believing in the 1.3.
Yeah,
I was believing in the 1.3 before we lost those administrative positions. I'm saying with the caveat that we may need to still adjust that number. So I would rather vote for a higher number because I know we can't go backwards. But with the understanding that we replace positions with those administrative positions, and I don't necessarily think that's fair to go against that as well. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm still a little bit lost.
Sorry,
So
I'm not doing a good job.
So the reason I am lost is because what we did is so the amount that we cut remains at 1.3 in the previous scenario we considered and in this scenario.
Correct.
Essentially, what we did was say what we need to cut under the $1.3 million scenario has changed. So in the old scenario, there were more teaching positions we were losing, but with the loss of 2 administrators, we have regained those teaching positions while now accommodating the loss of those
Yep.
2 administrative positions. So are you saying that you want to?
No, I'm saying I want this budget. This is fine.
Yeah,
What I'm saying though is with the caveat that we did just replace these people. We were willing to cut based on that previous budget.
Yeah.
This needs to be taken into consideration when the town comes back with the budget.
got it.
That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. I'm comfortable with this, with the
Yes.
1.3.
Okay.
I don't believe
And
we
you're
should be voting a 2.5 or a level funding budget either. I think we need to be supporting these districts and these teachers. None of those are my problems. I just think that we should be cutting positions and then proposing different positional changes. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So.
Anyone else who'd like to?
Jen, can you speak to the OTRs as it relates to the one with?
Yes, okay, so I'm gonna do my best, friends. All right. So the town of Templeton has the right to determine how any override monies are allocated. So let me be entirely clear on that. So if the override passes, it is entirely at their discretion how those monies are allocated. The meetings that have occurred so far have been that at the $2 million level, that they were willing to give the school to allocate to the school district $219,000. And at the $4 million level, what was sent to Dr. Cassavant was that it would continue to be the same $219,000. So that was what was indicated at either the $2 million level or at the $4 million level. Now, with that said, the school budget is a distinct item that you vote on at town meeting and then at town meeting, period. Essentially what happens is if at town meeting, the school budget is voted on at the recommended amount by the school committee. If that amount is more than what the town has recommended, then the town has to find the monies and redistribute them to the school district based on that budget that was voted in. The $2 million and $4 million override are a separate item on the town meeting agenda and would be a separate and distinct vote. I am going to refrain from recommending or not recommending those because that gets me into a whole other quagmire. But it would be at the Templeton Board of Selectmen's discretion to determine whether they use some of that $2 million or $4 million override to cover whatever budget the school committee recommends and whatever budget is approved on the town meeting floor. So if a $2 million or $4 million budget is passed at the town meeting, override. Thank you. If the $2 million or $4 million override is passed at town meeting, then there would be a ballot question that would follow because any override has to pass at both the town meeting and at the ballot. And I know that that was really hard to follow. So to try to as briefly as possible, repeat that for folks. The $2 million, the $4 million override are unique topics to the budget for the school district. The $2 million and the $4 million override are the discretion of the town to determine how to spend those monies. Those overrides will have to pass at the town meeting and then again at the ballot box. If the school budget was passed at an amount higher than what the Board of Selectmen is recommending, so if they are recommending level funded or if they're recommending 2.5%, the school committee has a separate authorization to vote on a budget, to have that budget on the ballot, and then to have that voted upon. This has happened several years in the past. And essentially that budget gets voted on at town meeting. And then it is up to the town to determine how they find the funds for that. It creates a very icky situation because it's how in past fire and police have been cut back from, for example, which is never what our goal is. Let's be entirely clear. Those same two kids I care about, I really want police and fire or EMS to show up, right? So that's never the desire. However, it does, the town does have to balance a budget just like the school district does. So if anyone would like to add any additional clarity to that, I did my best. Anyone else who wants to comment? So there they are. I have a lot of papers in front of me. And I'm gonna need my glasses. So give me a second. Getting old is not fun. So what I would like to do, what I would like to proceed with is to, I'm gonna start to put motions on the floor related to the $1.3 million in cuts. And then we can vote from there. And just for those of you who have not been through this process before, in order to pass a budget, there are 9 separate motions I have to go through. And they each go through a specific piece of the budget. In them, you're not going to hear the 1.3 million, you're going to hear the totals. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that as we go through this. So, gotta get my pen. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote and certify the amount of $26,987,139 for the FY27 budget.
Motion by Sean, second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, and I'm going to do roll call for clarity, though that is not required. Hank?
Aye.
Sylvia?
No.
Sean?
Aye.
Danielle?
No.
Heather? Aye. Bill?
Aye.
And I say yes, and now we have to do math to figure out whether or not we proceed. The reason that we have to do math to figure out whether or not we proceed is because there is a 2/3 rule for the budget, and if we do not reach the 2/3, then the budget is not considered passed. And the 2/3 is not based on the people seated here today, it's based on the total number of the total 8 members of the committee, and we are down 1 committee member. So we had 6 of, we had 5 of 7. Do math in my head. 5 of 8, thank you. That's 0.62, that's 2/3, right?
No, 2/3, 67 2/3.
67.
Most of them.
Okay. Then that motion fails. So we have to reconsider. And we have to come to an agreement on what is the budget level we're willing to consider. If it is a number other than the 1.3 million, then we may have to give Anne Marie time to do math. So let's discuss.
As I said, I think it would make sense to hear from the notes.
I was at the Phillipston town meeting last night. And I'm looking at what they're trying to certify here with the 1.3 million cuts. And it is item number 8 for the Phillipston amount. And what we voted in Phillipston last night is 2,123,541, and this amount is higher. And I know that's what you said we can do, but I've gone to many meetings in the town of Phillipston, or a selecting meeting of the finance committee meetings. And I know that an override is not something that they've considered, and that's why I'm voting no. I want to stick to what we voted in the town of Phillipston. As much as I care about the budget, we only gave the employees and everyone a 2.5% increase. And they gave the school district a 2.5% increase also.
So my no vote is because I can't in good conscience agree to making the cuts that are required for this 1.3 million. Sorry. I can't.
So the challenge being that
You want more.
you want, can you clarify where you want to be?
I want to save every single position off here, right? So I voted for the initial budget, the level funded or level service budget is what I truly believe that this community deserves.
The challenge with the level service budget for our towns is that it is a 22% increase for each of them that they have to consume. And so like, trust me, I want the level service budget as well. That's the one my heart wants. But I am also trying to find a space where we acknowledge the collective needs of our towns. I know that, the library is at risk, that they're looking at, and I'm not gonna get them all, but they're looking at possibly cutting 2 police officers in Templeton from, they were already, I guess the average locally for comparable towns is 11 police officers. And Templeton only has 10 and they'd be cutting down to 8. And hopefully I got those numbers correct. Please forgive me if I didn't, but I think they are directionally accurate. And so we're trying, I think where I am coming from is trying to find a space where we are collectively with the towns acknowledging the financial burdens that we're facing, while also being unwilling to consider cuts that I would be worried would be extremely difficult to recover.
So I understand. We've had several families here advocate for continuing the MVP program.
Yeah.
Um,
That is not cut under the 1.3.
it's not, we have families that are not here that would advocate for any of the other positions. Well, it's not here. I watched the crowd's reaction when, they learned that what has been communicated thus far is that regardless of the dollar amount for the override, the school is going to receive the same amount of funding. And I think that that was sort of a shock to a lot of people in this room. It's a shock to me as well.
The challenge is, will it pass? Because what would need to happen is that the school's budget needs to independently pass at the Templeton town meeting. And right now, the temperature I'm getting on folks passing our level service budget hasn't been great. Having been on the end of some Facebook comments has not been great. And so my fear is that if we put that level service budget out at Templeton town meeting, and that is what is on the warrant right now, let me be clear, that is what is on the warrant right now. Is that does not pass, and then we're guaranteed into 112. At which point then the state sets our budget to. And so that's my concern. And so I'm, I am also having that same concern of like, no one ever wants to see cuts. I don't want to see cuts, and yet I also want that budget that will pass and that will demonstrate an effort on our part of balance across the different needs of it.
I feel like we've been doing that year to year and year and year. We're met with the same message every time that budget's been like around. Next year.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure I'm clear about this clear something, I should say. The state doesn't automatically just assign. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
I am
Yep.
overstating, please.
You'd have to go into 112.
Yeah.
That would be after July 1. The state would pick 8, well, we send them all our information, basically. And then they pick a number, and says, okay, this is what you're going to receive. This is what both towns are going to allot to you, 112, right? Until you, I guess, comes in the. So I just want to make sure you're clear that
Yeah.
you have to wait till at least for that to happen. So it just,
It puts us in a very tough holding space where we don't know what our is for this.
and so I'm just saying that you probably wouldn't survive past 112, is once September hits and, here what it hits, it becomes very. Just as an aside.
The other possibility is that it becomes a debate on the town meeting floor. And that folks on the town meeting floor, which will be, hopefully lots of folks that were here tonight, but also folks who were not here tonight, putting out budget numbers that they feel are correct or right. And they could certainly put out the level funded or 2.5% budget for voting. And at that point,
my ability to advocate is much less. So that is my further concern, is that it does become an open floor matter. I mean, let me be clear, it can be that no matter what, even if we cut it down to 1 point, cut it by 1.3 million here today. It can always be from, as Phillipston did, it can always be further cut on, during the town meeting. My goal is to create a scenario that makes it easier to say yes to our budget. If we have no further votes tonight, it remains the level service. Are there other scenarios we're willing to consider?
This isn't gonna pass. We all know it.
I'm gonna just,
I know.
thank you. Scenarios we're willing to look at. Looking at what's on here, are there specific concerns we as a school committee have of this particular budget being able to support our district and our students? Beyond all of them, are there specific ones we should talk about? The ones that most stand out as a concern? Would you like me to put another motion on the table? Would you like me to put the same motion on the table? All right, we are going to reapproach the $1.3 million cuts, so I'm going to start the same motions. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote and certify the amount of $26,987,139 for the FY 27 budget.
So moved.
Motion by Sean, second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, and we'll do roll call again. Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
I
Sean,
Aye.
Danielle, sure.
I,
Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. Yes,
my concern isn't necessarily going through these line items and deciding on a different budget. It's the message, the clear message, that's communicated by saying the school gets the same dollar amount regardless if it's a $2 million override or a $1 million override. I think that is very important that we hear that and what that means, or think about what that could mean.
and the Templeton Board of Selectmen still has the power to make decisions as it relates to those overrides, and so certainly folks can advocate for how they'd like to see that money spent with the Board of Selectmen, which is the point that Sean made earlier. We're going to move on to the second motion. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the estimated income of $13,137,592 for the FY 27 budget, or repeat that number again, $13,137,592 of the FY 27 budget, which is based on the Chapter 78 from the Governor's House 1 budget submission.
Second.
Motion by Hank, second by Sean. Any questions or comments?
I don't know where this came.
We're in number 2.
Here, number 2.
In the $1.3 million cut scenario.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Danielle,
I,
Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the estimated income of $733,082 for the FY 27 budget, which is based on the Chapter 71 aid from the Governor's House 1 budget submission.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments?
Seeing none, Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the estimated income of $62,104 for the FY 27 budget, which is based on the charter school reimbursement from the FY 27 cherry sheet estimates.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia, Sean,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the estimated income of $500,000 for the FY 27 budget, which is based on the FY 25 certified excess and deficiency.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Danielle, Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the estimated income of $145,000 for the FY 27 budget, which is based on FY 27 Medicaid receipts.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia, Sean,
Aye.
Danielle,
Aye.
Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the assessment amount to Templeton in the amount of $9,906,981.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia, Sean,
Aye.
Danielle, Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the assessment amount to Phillips in the amount of $2,331,561.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Hank. Any questions or comments?
If I say no to this, I have to change my no on the other ones that I said yes to, don't I?
Not unless it.
John Senator.
Not unless we end up in a 2/3 situation, because it's not a 2/3 situation. You can say no, but it's symbolic as opposed to actually changing anything.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
No.
Sean,
Yes. Aye. Sorry.
Danielle, Heather, Bill.
Aye.
So that is not unanimous. That was six votes out of seven seated, 8 total.
Yep.
But it passes the 2/3. Yes. Thank you, Sean.
So, yeah.
Some people at this table can do math in their heads. I would entertain a motion that the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee vote the debt service of $170,819, of which $145,179 be Templeton's assessment and $25,640 be Phillipston assessment. To be clear, this is for the roof.
So moved.
Motion by Sean, Hank, seconded by Hank. Any questions or comments? Yes, Sylvia.
So has the debt exclusion for the roof changed because the amount we voted in March was different?
Yes, it has. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, the borrowing is all finalized now. We actually have the funds.
In place.
So my concern is last night at the town of Phillipston town meeting, I think we voted the amount that we had voted on in March.
No, you didn't repeat the vote for the roof.
The debt,
You had already done the vote for the roof.
There was an amount underneath the treasurer section last
Yeah.
night on the
it was,
town meeting warrant. This is a little bit different than that. I think
okay,
it's like
that's not the
$2,000
same amount.
difference. Yeah.
That was under that section.
Oh, thank you for
Yeah.
correcting me.
Because that's what I was thinking it was. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that and for correcting me. Okay. Hank,
Aye.
Sylvia,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Danielle, Heather, Bill,
Aye.
and I say yes. So that one was unanimous. Okay, that completes our voting. And we will move into our regular business. and folks are welcome to stay, but if you would like to make a mass exodus at this point, we don't blame you. We don't blame you. Yeah. And while folks are exiting, we're going to do a short recess so that the rest of us can have a moment.
Yeah.
because my battery's dead.
My 53% last, oh, mine's going.
Yeah.
Are we live? Are we live? We're back. All right. Okay, so we are returning back to the top. As just a recap, we spent the first part of the meeting going through budget. We are now back. We are going to start to go through regular business. We had moved around the agenda in order to best serve the public that was here this evening. So running through our regular business, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 16th, 2026 as written.
So moved.
Motion by Sean, second by Heather. Any questions or comments on those minutes?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would further entertain a motion to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Sean, second by Heather. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes. Can you tell we're trying to get through business? We do have a number of annual business items to get through this evening, but they should be fairly quick. I would entertain a motion to appoint Susan Varney as the Records Access Officer for FY 27 for Mass General Law 66-6A.
So
moved. Second. Motion by Danielle, second by Sean. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes, Ms. Varney.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would further entertain the motion to sign the physician's contract addendum with Cornerstone Family Medicine for FY 27 as below. The district agrees to pay Cornerstone Family Medicine a stipend of $6,000 for the 2026-27 academic year. The district also agrees to pay Cornerstone Family Medicine a stipend of $150 per away game for the 2026-27 academic year.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Danielle. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion to authorize the Narragansett Regional School District Treasurer acting under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 71, 16G, as amended by Chapter 13, Section 4 of the Acts of 1972, with the approval of the chairman of the district committee to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and to issue a note or notes therefore payable within 1 year, and to renew any note or notes as may be given for a period of less than 1 year in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 17.
So moved.
Motion by Sean. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments?
I only have one quick question underneath in the public content. It probably doesn't matter because you're just making the motion. But I noticed that the date, the fiscal year is July 1, 2025. That doesn't matter, does it?
No, the public content doesn't matter. It's the motion.
I
Yeah,
wanted
but
to
thank you
be
for
sure.
clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion to continue using Miracle Connell Law Firm for FY 27. Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Bill. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion to continue using Roselli, Clark and Associates CPA as the district's auditing firm for FY 27.
So moved.
Motion by Sean. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. I would entertain a motion to approve Felicia Kuehl as district treasurer for FY 27.
So moved.
So motion by Sean. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. Our student representative understandably is not here this evening.
Well, you got appointed assistant treasurer.
Oh, wait, I missed one. Which one? Oh, assistant treasurer, right. Oh, thank you. I would entertain a motion to appoint Lori Reed as the assistant treasurer for FY 27.
So moved.
Motion by Sean. Second by Heather. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, and I say yes, so that is unanimous. Thank you for keeping me honest. All right, student representative is not here. We already did public input. We already did the budget update. And Marie, anything in the business manager's report?
I'll
No?
put them on next time.
Okay, superintendent goals, we actually did not need that on here because we already voted for that. I just copied over last year's agenda for this particular meeting and I forgot to remove that. But the superintendent evaluation schedule, so 3 of the folks sitting at this table will no longer be on a committee at that time. But I did want to remind folks that we do have the evaluation coming up in June. Things are going to be honestly tight this year. We're hoping to look at evidence at the next May meeting. And then we will have to submit and vote on feedback by June. Usually we try to spread this out a little bit more, but with the budget having extended as far as it did. This is your advance notice to plan out some time to fill out that evaluation form for those of you who will still be on the committee at that time. For those of you who won't, it's a delightful process that everyone really enjoys, especially Dr. Casavan having his review done in public. But we will get that done. Okay. Curriculum instruction. Anything we need to know?
I have a I will just briefly share, we did just recently go through our 5-year review of our early college program. Which this is we're at our 5-year mark of now implementing that program. So we went through our first 5-year review cycle. I will share the results of that with the committee at the next meeting. But I will just share briefly, it was overall very positive, and the one area we got some feedback in, we provided the feedback to the audit team. We knew we had some work to do in one area.
Excellent.
And then also we have updated our program of studies to add the language for MVP plumbing that we omitted, but we were holding off due to tonight's meeting, so I will bring that to the committee next week as well.
Okay, thank you. And next week, just the next
meeting.
The next May meeting, just to, again, so expectations, this is also usually a little bit of a longer meeting, though not this long. So surplus items, and I should add that we really need everyone to be sworn in and present, because with who we have running and who we don't, it will be really difficult to be formed this next school committee situation. Although I will say, heard a rumor that someone in Phillipston put in the newsletter that they're looking to be a write-in. Elizabeth Bond. So to my Phillipston friends over here, we do have someone willing to be a write-in, Elizabeth Bond. Correct. As well as for Templeton, actually, because we vote as well, so spread the word that we can write her into. So superintendent report.
Just sort of, honestly, just want to shout out thank yous to everyone who did Gap Day today. Actually, everyone, and Lions, it was awesome. It was a great day. It actually was very sunny. It wasn't supposed to be, I think, in the beginning, but it was. Staff appreciation. This is the week that every staff member gets appreciated. There's a day for, I forget the day, but there's teacher and there's food service people and just a lot going on. So we want to just appreciate everybody. Thank you. Congrats to the National Honor Society inductees that took place a couple nights ago. Just want to remind everybody that the Memorial Day program has been, it's been split, right? So on let's see, on Friday, May 22nd, it'll just be the middle high school program. It's the same day, which I'll talk in a minute about the commissioner. But the elementary program is going to be on Tuesday, right? The other side of Memorial Day weekend on the 26th at 10 o'clock out back. Everything's the same. We just had way too much going on for this kind of small area. So we split it up. The letter was sent out on May 1st. So just reminding people, we do have the commissioner coming out. He'll be coming out on May 22nd. The itinerary, we'll post the itinerary and more to come on that, but that was confirmed. And we'll be working with the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. And because they will be having a small meet and greet afterwards. More to come on, but.
School committee comments.
Did we vote that? Did I just?
They're not giving me on here.
Just says vote, so.
Surplus items kind of stays on as a standard. There's no surplus items this evening.
Understood.
That's why I skipped over. Thank you.
Yeah, I also went to GAP the other day. It was wonderful. I thought you did a wonderful job. I talked to many students. I think they were very appreciative of it. So,
But we were very appreciative of the ice cream. Although we ran out of M&Ms. And
We did.
Don't worry, Mr. K, I took the brunt. So apparently I'm the person, well, the reason why people run out of M&Ms. So kids were coming to me, maybe, well, I don't know, but like, hey man, they ran out of M&Ms. I'm like, I'm sorry. We just didn't think it through. And so, but they loved the ice cream, man. I'm telling you, they were all set. It was a great day, but then.
Dr. C, my sincerest apologies.
No, listen. I'm in charge of M&Ms. That's so then we figured that out later on. So they were good. So please.
I would just like to extend my thanks to the committee for their work this year and especially the Narragansett administration team on working on a very difficult budget this year. This is likely my last meeting with the committee. However, if opportunity presents itself in the future to assist the committee, I certainly would do so. And I will just reiterate from what was said earlier during the budget that I strongly encourage Templeton residents to attend the town meeting and let their voices be heard.
Thank you.
And chair.
Yes. Oh, you forgot.
It's pretty important.
All right.
Prom.
Prom.
On Saturday.
Yeah, it's small. Yeah.
So on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. So make sure I get the day right, prom. It's a big day, that's what GAP is for, obviously, right? So prom, I saw 13 set of brand new nails. And that are gonna match dresses, shoes, I've seen them all, so. I just wanna let you know, we're in full effect.
Dr. Steve getting his hair done?
No.
Are proposals a thing?
Oh, gosh, yes, we had one happen at the baseball game, we've had them happen all over the place.
Really?
And they did a great job. The nails are on point.
I can't
verify.
even imagine these proposals. All right. Any other comments from school committee? All right, I am going to not go through subcommittee reports this evening just due to the length of this meeting. We have already gone through correspondence. Thank you for listening to the dulcet tones of my voice for a very long time. And thank you to those who wrote. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 21st, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. And we do need executive session this evening, although we will not return into open session immediately following. I would entertain a motion to discuss strategy with respect to litigation with the town of Templeton if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The meeting will not return into open session immediately following. And this will be a roll call vote. Hank? Sylvia? Sean?
So moved.
Motion by Sean.
Second.
Second by Hank. Thank you. Hank?
Aye.
Sylvia? Sean?
Aye.
Danielle? Heather?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I say yes, so that is unanimous and this meeting is adjourned.